Here we are again, Hornets. We are doing another Ready Language Handbook. Yay! And this time we're doing lesson 5 on complex and compound complex sentences. So you should have your source book out and we're going to go over your notes that you've already written down. And you're going to then, after that, open up your workbook to page 239. And that is where we're going to pick up. So the very first thing we want to make sure we look at is your notes that you've already taken. And we went over simple and compound sentences already. And remember, simple sentences have just, simple have one independent clause. And a compound sentence, compound sentence has an independent clause plus another independent clause. And they're normally joined by a comma and fanboys. Okay, so with that being said, complex sentences still have an independent clause, but this time they also are going to have at least one dependent clause. Okay, so it's our example that we've got down here. This is actually from your workbook on page 239. Okay, so while many people enjoy music, some scientists think that it also makes them smarter. Well, I have what's called a subordinating conjunction right here with while, and I have while many people enjoy. It's my verb. I still have my subject and my verb. But if I cut the rest of this sentence out, I have a subject and a verb, so I have a clause. But if I just have while many people enjoy music, it's not a complete thought, which means this cannot stand alone. So it's going to need the help of the other side of the sentence, which is where we get our independent clauses. So I have my subordinating conjunction, my SC, and then I've got many people as my subject and they enjoy music. And then on my other side, oh, and by the way, and we'll get to this too. You see that comma? There we go. Because this is a dependent clause opening a sentence. It has, because it's an introductory clause, has to get a comma. Once again, too much information. So, but some scientists think that it also makes them smarter. Well, some scientists think that it also makes them smarter. Look at that. So, some scientists think technically that's an independent clause. I can call it a day. Because scientists, what do? They think I could put a period. I know that. And then I also have another subordinated conjunction, which is a relative pronoun, but we're going to get into that right now. So that it also makes them smarter. It makes would be my it is my subject, makes is my verb. So if all I had was that it also makes them smarter, you're probably going to want to know, well, what is that? I'm not sure what that is. So that is also that's another dependent clause. So far in this one sentence, I have that's an SC, subordinating conjunction. I'm just going to label this as an SC right now. It's a subordinating conjunction. Okay. And so that means I have a dependent clause here, an independent clause here, and a dependent clause here. We'll look at my next example. It says scientists have done studies that suggest a link between music and reading skills. Well, my subordinating conjunction, once again, it's going to be the word that. And it lets me know that that's going to tell me that that's the beginning of a dependent clause. And how you know is that if I took the rest of this sentence away and it was simply that suggests a link between music and reading skills. Well, what suggests? That's not a complete thought. I need more information than what it's giving. So we want to make sure, subordinating conjunction, that suggests a link between music and reading skills. This is my dependent clause, and this side is my independent clause. Scientists have done studies suggest a link between music and reading skills. So that is my understood pronoun. And that what does it do? It suggests, but it's not enough. I need more information. Then we step it up a notch and we're going to start adding our complex sentences with our compound sentences from yesterday. So we end up with a compound complex sentence, and it has at least two independent clauses that's joined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction and a semicolon, but we'll get into that later. And it also has at least one dependent clause. Okay, so they're written. I like to call that my. So, real quick, let me come back up to complex sentences. I normally, when I have to write out my math formula for this, it's an IC plus a DC, or it's a DC, comma, plus an IC. All right. Now, you can have more than that, but you can always have more dependent clauses. You can just at least lead one dependent clause in order for it to be considered partly complex. Now, down here again for compound, it would have to be a independent clause with our comma and our coordinating conjunction, our fanboy, and another independent clause plus a dependent clause, period. Or it could be an independent clause, a dependent clause, and then an independent clause and an independent clause. It could be an independent clause, a dependent clause, and an independent clause. There's a whole bunch of different ways that it can go. So I'm going to erase my thing. I'm going to clear that. All right. So we want to make sure we look at where it says scientists have made some important discoveries about music, and this research has encouraged people who want school music programs to continue. Well, scientist is my subject, have made is my verb, and then I've got and that is my coordinating conjunction. It's got the comma. This is a pronoun. Research has encouraged is my verb. So this has encouraged people. That's another independent clause. And then I've got who want. That's my subordinating conjunction relative pronoun. Want school music programs to continue. So I have one, just got to get that comma in there, independent clause. And then I have another independent clause. And then I have my dependent clause. Okay, now we're going to keep practicing. Don't freak out. All this is just overviews. Okay, so we're going to go look at the chart that I have on the next page, maybe. Okay, all right. So on this page, we have just like here's you see this giant list of subordinating conjunctions of all the different ones that would start a dependent clause. Wanted to make sure you had your own list. We sometimes call them sawabis. The S stands for since, so that. The W stands for all of these W's right here: when, whenever, where, whereas, wherever, whether, while, and why. The A stands for after, although, as if, as long as soon as, although. The B stands for before, because, and before. And the I stands for if, in case, in order that, insofar. Now, obviously, there's more than just those, but that's our main things that lets us know that that's a subordinating conjunction. And No Red Ink likes to call them sawabis. Now, our example that I have here on the for this chart is that I have the independent clause, the cat ran. I also have a dependent clause that says, and this is my subordinating conjunction, okay, because the dog barked loudly. The dog, what did he do? He barked. And when I put that together, I end up, I'm going to circle that so that way I can see it. I have the cat ran is my independent clause, and I have because the dog barked loudly is my dependent clause. Now, the thing about complex sentences is it's not like an addition problem. You can rearrange it and it should still make sense. We're going to use those same clauses, but we're going to switch them around and we're going to do the dependent clause first. Now, the thing about having the dependent clause first is that once that clause is over, you have to put a, that's right, good job. You've got to put that comma after your dependent clause because it is an introductory clause. So, if I say, because the dog barked loudly, comma, the cat ran. It's the same thing. I still have because, I still have the dog and he barked, I still have the cat ran. This is still a subordinating conjunction. It is still a dependent clause, and this one is still an independent clause. And when I put them together, you can't see the word because, but it's right there. So let's see. Because that's because right here, because the dog barked loudly, comma, the cat ran. Yay, it's all together. Woohoo. So now we're going to go look at, that's for later. Okay, now this is your workbook page on page 239. We want to box our title. We're going to rewrite complex and compound complex sentences at the top. And we want to make sure that we know that a compound sentence has a dependent clause, comma, independent clause, period, and that a compound complex sentence has an independent clause plus an independent clause plus a dependent clause, period. And that would actually have a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Okay, we've already gone over all these notes. We've already talked about this workbook page because that's what we just did. We just did it in your source book. So let's go look at our guided practice at the bottom. Okay. So this right here wants us to identify each sentence by writing complex or compound complex. So we're looking for either just a complex sentence or we're looking for a compound complex sentence. Now, remember yesterday, anytime that we're looking for anything to do with compound, we use our fanboys. Okay, we use for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Up, and remember there's going to be a comma attached to that word in front of them. Okay, that helps us know we're looking for something to do with compound. And then when complex comes under, we're looking for the sawabis. Okay, and that's my favorite ones are since and because, although, if, and this one, I do believe I've got while is one of my favorites that I like to use. Okay, so anytime we see these in a sentence, we want to circle them. So in my instructions also want me to underline the dependent clause or clauses. So let's look at number one and go see if we have any, let's look for any coordinating conjunctions. And there's one. Okay. All right, now let's also go look for any subordinating conjunctions. There's one right there. Okay. Let's go look at number two. Oh, there's a subordinating conjunction right there. Let's see if we have any coordinating conjunctions. Hopefully, I won't miss any if I have one. Oh, there's another subordinating conjunction right there, though. But I didn't see any. I didn't see any fanboys. Number three. Let's see. Do I have any? Oh, there is a subordinating conjunction right there. Also, well, not that one. That's not a. What am I thinking? Nope, that is not what that is right there. Nope, 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 nope. Sorry, don't write that. Okay, it's right here. That's my subordinating conjunction. Oh, I also have a coordinating conjunction. Ooh, I even see a comma. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. All right, and let's go look at our number four, our very last one. Oh, there's a coordinating conjunction. Oh, it even has a comma. Oh, and there's a subordinating conjunction. Okay, so I can look at these sentences right now and I know what type of sentence they are based on the fact if they have a subordinating conjunction, like number one's got although. So, this, although the results are not final. If I cut out the rest of the sentence and I just had results are not final, although the results are not final, that is not a complete thought. So that lets me know that this is going to be a complex sentence. I know it's not compound because even though I have a coordinating conjunction right here, I do not have a comma over there. Okay. Number two says when college students in one study had received musical training before age 12, they were able to remember more words from a list than students who had not received training. Well, I see a subordinating conjunction here and one right here. So this is my subordinating conjunction up there. So this is going to be my dependent clause. We're going to go all the way to that comma because I know it's an introductory clause. It's got to have a comma. And I'm going to come all the way from who all the way to the end. This right here, they were able to remember more words from a list than other students, is an independent clause. It is all by itself. So the other two are dependent clauses. There is no coordinating conjunction, so it is not a compound sentence. I'm going to clear my screen because it's getting messy. Number three, in another study, students have, now in another study is a phrase, it is not a clause. Students had higher reading scores after 7 months if they had there we go, that's that subordinating conjunction, if they had received daily music lessons. That comma's going to stop it because that is also letting me know that comma and it's letting me know that this is creating a compound sentence now. So I just had a complex sentence before, and now that comma and is giving me complex compound vibes. So and their scores remained high after a year. So I have a subordinating conjunction and a coordinating conjunction creating two. So this is going to be my compound complex sentence. And our last one, I have most schools do not want to cut music programs. Oh, there's my comma but. So that's my coordinating conjunction. Some schools have no choice because, oh, there's my subordinating conjunction because, I'll underline that, they do not have enough money. All right, so this is also going to, because it's got the coordinating conjunction that makes it compound because that comma in the conjunction. And then I've got schools do not want, just one verb, and then then schools have no choice. Okay, so this is going to be a compound complex. Now, don't keep in mind, guys, we're going to keep going over all this over the course of the next couple of days, and we're going to keep practicing with it. And you're going to get better at it. The whole thing is recognizing all those different types of conjunctions and how they're going to help you identify different sentence types. So if you have any questions, please ask, let us know. We are here to help you. All right. Bye, guys.